Hey everybody, it's Christina, CraftyPaws. I wanted to share a little card that I made. This is for Dorothy Jewell, who is hosting a scene card challenge. I wanted to try making two scenes actually in one card and got a chance to make a flip it card. This is also a DT project for the Not2ShabbyShop because she carries this adorable Mimi's Love stamp set, and I use this cutie patootie here for the front. She also had carried, I don't think she carries it right now, but this Mimi in Paris penny black stamp. I actually had gotten this as a gift from Tina, who is top cropper here on YouTube, and out of the penny black collections, Mimi is one of my favorites. This is also a twofer because it's also a DT project for Diemond dies. I use the scalloped oval die from the scalloped oval nesting die set, as well as the oval die from the oval nesting die set, and these fit perfectly. These are both the fourth largest in those nesting sets, and it makes a perfect frame, super cute. You can see that I used the scalloped oval to make the actual flip it there. You can see along the edge. And I made the little frame around the whole thing using the oval and the scalloped oval with that really cute pink polka dot paper. And I thought that matched really well with the color that I colored up her little dress. And it came from this Snowy Day Christmas paper pad. And the outside paper, that teal polka dot, is a gift from Marla H. So in the front, I colored up this little girl, and I'm gonna attach a video here where I show different parts of how I made this card. I will show the coloring of her hair and her skin, and I will also show you the construction of the actual flip it. And if you want more details, I will also put a link to my blog post where I share all the Copic colors and materials that I used. I colored her up, and I actually created kind of what looks hopefully like folds in her little dress, and that's just with creating more shadows. And I wanted to make almost like a clear umbrella because this little image reminded me of myself when I was a little girl. I grew up in Southern California where there's very little, cold weather, and in the winter when it does rain, as a little girl, I love just tromping around in my backyard with my big clear bubble umbrella and looking at the raindrops hitting the umbrella. So I wanted to try and give the illusion of this umbrella being more clear. And I did that using some jelly roll pen and some very pale blue greens. And then at the end, I also added glossy accents just to kind of give that kind of vinyl look. And then for the inside, I wanted the front to be like April showers or, showered with love, since these are little hearts falling down. I just think she's just adorable. And then I wanted the inside to be Bring May flowers. So I thought it was so cute that these were raindrops of hearts, and then the flowers that bloom are all made of hearts. And so I created this little scene with these two little stamp sets that Marla H had sent to me. These were perfect for this project. So I used these flowers. I stamped them out with my new Adirondack inks that I had picked up at Tuesday morning and fussy cut those out and popped those up so that there's a little dimension too on these little hearts here. And then I just drew in some grass and colored that in below just so that the flowers would obviously have something to grow out of. And that's my card. I'm going to attach a video here where I show the Copic coloring of hair, of skin, and then the construction of this flip it card. And if you guys are going to make a purchase at the Not2ShabbyShop or Diemond Dies, please consider using my coupon codes. For the Not2ShabbyShop, it's CraftyPaws, all in capital letters. And at Diemond Dies, it is Thanks Christina with a K. So you can see here that I stamped out two of the penny black images on a piece of cardstock, and this is a Georgia Pacific paper. I will put a link in my blog post to that if you're interested in the papers that I use for Copic coloring. And you can see I created a little mask with a Post-it paper of the little Mimi fairy so that I can mask her off and have the flower stamps in the background. And I'm using these single stamps and just stamping them out with Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I didn't know yet if I wanted to use colored inks or color this in with Copic markers. But there's so much of the black area, the full area in these stamps and these flowers, that I end up stamping them out again with colored inks as well and popping those up on foam adhesive. You can see it comes out really well just with that simple masking. And I'm just showing you here some Copic coloring of skin. And I laid down a foundation of E50, which is a pale kind of skin tone color with a slight yellow undertone. And I put in a little bit of shading along the edges by her hairline, on the lower parts of her arms and under her dress where there would be shadows, and that's with E51. E53 is even darker, and I go over those areas again for an even deeper shadow. And this image, I'm just imagining the light source coming straight on in front of her. So you get a rounded look by keeping the middle of her face paler and the edges darker. And again, I'm just trying to figure out under clothing, like the bottom of her dress, and by the sides of her face, there would be more shadow. And I just go back and forth between the 51 through 53, just so I make sure that there aren't any harsh edge lines and so that they're blended nicely. Here I add some R30, which is a pale blush. If I wanted it to be a little bit darker, I might pick an R20. And for the little girl's hair, I decided to do a dark brown. And I start with the lightest color, which is E55. And again, I'm trying to think of where the light source would be, and it would be kind of at the middle of her bangs and in the middle of her little ponytails where the light would hit first. And then along the edges at the ends and where her ponytails are pinched, you know, where they're tied, and under the umbrella, there would be more shadows. So I use E57 to connect with the E55, and then I go even darker with E59. But I'm using really light strokes, and the lighter the strokes are, the more realistic the hair will look. And I try to keep even some bare white of the paper, and that gives a nice highlight. You see that I've taken the lid off of the back too, because sometimes I find that Copic markers will blotch out if I've overfilled it or something like that. And taking the lid off of both sides of the pen, I think equalizes the pressure and prevents that, you know, running of the ink. And again, I just go back and forth trying to make a kind of nice connection between the lightest and darkest colors. And there you see the skin and the hair colored up. Base, I am starting with a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 inches by 7 1/2 inches. I'm going to score at 2 7/8. That's the little mark right before the 3, and 3 7/8, which is the mark right before the 4. And then I am going to get 2 pieces of pattern paper that I'm going to be lining these 2 sides with. And this first one on the left side is 2 3/4 by 4 inch. And this one is 3 1/2 by 4 inches. And I'm just going to take some washi tape and tape that down, lining this up right along the score lines. And the die shape that I'm going to be using is this oval. And the key here to making the flip it work is to line up the center point of this die, the center point, which is this scallop right here and here, with the first score line, okay? So I'm gonna tape those down, this down as well. So the key to die cutting this is that I do not want to cut any portion of this middle section here. So how do you do that? You take your die cutting plate and line that up with this score line, okay? And then run it through. That means that only this portion was cut because the cutting plate stopped right here. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side and line up the cutting plate again on this side of the score line. And as you'll see, it didn't cut any of this middle portion. So unfortunately, my washi tape took off some of the pattern from the pattern paper, but I did want to show you the next step, which is to adhere these down, obviously. I'm not going to do that with this paper because it's damaged, but it's to fold here this way. Fold that way, and there's your flip it. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like this video, you like this card, please give it a thumbs up. Hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day. Bye.